Hi, I'm Mark Hughes. Welcome to this edition of Disability Viewpoints. Glad to have you all with us today. We had scheduled to have Nick Wilkie as our co-host today. He's out ill, and so he'll be back real soon, but we wish him a speedy recovery and wish him all the best. With me today is my special guest, Jen Blomberg. She is one person that has 3 different titles. We're going to explain all that during this next 28 minutes, half hour or so. Jen, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you. And tell us a little bit about yourself before we get started.
I'm born and raised in Minnesota. I've been doing healthcare and homemaking for over 20 years.
It seems like only yesterday.
Yeah.
What made you want to get into healthcare?
Growing up in Rochester, Minnesota, I've seen a lot of need for it, and my mom helped take care of my grandparents, and just always seen need for healthcare.
What type of education does that take?
It depends on the title. Sometimes it takes none to just a little bit of compassion and having the right heart in the right place and
Great.
stuff like that.
So what is your fondest memory of all those 20 years?
Just being able to help people, going to some concerts. I've just loved being in the community and helping people.
And she's a big Minnesota Wild fan too. And she happens to do some PCA care for me and does a great job. So
Thank you.
if someone wants to get started, what would you recommend?
Finding your loved ones, seeing what they need help with, applying at local nursing homes, doing some volunteer work, seeing what's their need for.
So if you needed education, if you wanted to advance, LPN, RN, that type of thing, what would you recommend for education?
I went to Southeast Tech in Minnesota, but then I started as a CNA, which stands for Certified Nursing Assistant. So
And you are a nurse?
nursing assistant, but
Oh,
yeah,
nursing assistant. Well, good for you. How many years of schooling?
less than a year.
Good for you.
But you got to have a lot of hands-on training and.
Good for you. So let's talk about all your titles. And you have a lot of them. You're a mom, probably an aunt. Let's talk about your professional titles though, really.
Okay, I'm a personal care attendant,
Which means?
basically helping people with their personal cares, so getting people out the door to either jobs or to work or to kind of activities.
But that can be anything,
Yep. Shower can
grocery
be.
shopping, cooking, anything like that.
Yep, more so anything in the home, basically cooking, bathing, changing clothes.
Then you go out to activities.
Yes, that's more the independent living one.
Okay. And that is the next title.
Yep, so that's an IHS.
IHS.
Yep, independent home specialist.
Okay.
And I keep people home and do more like the activities and not so much personal cares, more the fun stuff and the community stuff.
So when you're out in the community at activities, what kind of activities are they?
I've gone grocery shopping with people. We do restaurants. We're going out to the casino to go play bingo. It just depends on each day.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of fun.
Yeah. And of course, you have 4 different clients, and we're all at various different ages. So each activity, each thing is kind of different. And then your cognitive skills and your motor skills too make a difference. Do you want to explain that a little bit?
So I can take people to usually out into the community to appointments and be their eyes and ears
Okay.
if they need me. So yeah.
Yeah, because you've got the background in non-medical
Yeah.
care. So when a family member has a senior member that's still doing their own independence and washing their own clothes and grocery shopping, but they can see that this type of service is needed, what do you tell them?
Sometimes it's nice just to be able to be a companion for them, for the friend or family member. And sometimes you can help them at one stage of life and see different stages of life. If they need be, you can report it to the family and help them, or sometimes you're just over there keeping them company while their loved ones are at work.
What does that family member need to know really when they're starting to plan for their aging parent or whichever relative it is.
Just make sure you can watch and kind of monitor it. It's hard to really pinpoint one thing. Depends on the person.
And how would you go about, say you're looking for a service, that means your very first time, and you've looked in the paper but there's no ads. Who would you contact, or how would you start looking?
Some people just word of mouth. That's how I got started. Basically word of mouth, and a lot of people, outside sources and stuff like that.
Wow. So like you can work for somebody, a company, and then you can start your own business. How tough was that?
It's very tough because sometimes you got a business background, and people can only deal with businesses, and then you get the people who get you by word of mouth, and unfortunately they could pass away or move to a place that has assisted living.
But if a person wants to know, where would they start looking for a service like yours?
I don't know. That's I said word of mouth. That's
Just word of mouth?
mostly.
Okay. And but there's no special place that you go or a newspaper you look.
No.
So if you had it to do all over again, would you go up this same path, or would you take a different turn?
Probably same turn,
Okay.
because I love being able to help people in their homes.
Okay. And would you further your education by going to school, or just?
Some
going
days
back?
I would like to, but then I know there's a need for people to just have people like me that come in their homes and don't need medical and just want companionship and cares at their home.
What age group do you see changes?
A lot of 60 on up lately. Unfortunately, we're getting to the stage where people are needing more cares for home stuff. And
Right. And what do you think constitutes that? Is it their health just changes, or
their
mental
health,
or-
mentally, physically, and then sometimes it's even unfortunately in our diets. And
So are you kind of a dietitian too when you cook?
no, I cook from the heart.
You do?
Yes.
You do.
So depends on the people's, but I would cook if they're on a low sodium diet. I would obviously adapt to that.
Right. Well, should we take a break, and we'll be right back right after this. Stay tuned. So what are your most popular activities if people want to go out? And of course you have 4 clients. We're all probably at different ages. What activities are the most popular?
Lately, grocery shopping and a lot of meal prepping and lots of game playing for
Okay.
games.
And how about socially? What kind of things? I mean, sports and science museums and movies and
We go to a lot of baseball games. There's a big success in the summer.
great.
Just being in the community, anywhere. People like walking the mall and just having someone to talk with them while they walk the mall.
Have you ever talked to groups about what you do? Because it's kind of interesting.
No.
You've never done that.
Not very often.
I can't believe that. So, what is the one thing that made you grow, or the one thing you think you've really learned by doing all this?
Just being able to bring joy to people's lives again who've been upset or depressed, and making people smile again.
Yeah, but what's the one thing that you didn't know before you got into this that you really learned?
How depressed people actually are in their homes and not being able to get out in the community and feel stuck.
Mental health is a big issue. And how do you, if a person really gets depressed and says, no, I'm not going, or I don't want to go, how do you entice them to go?
Kind of just redirect them and, find something fun about it, and maybe look at pictures, or you learn about them through daily activities, and you just pick up vibes, and you know how to kind of change their mood.
Good vibes. Good for you. So what do you like to do when you have time off, which isn't very often?
I like to travel, and I love sporting events, which, like you said, hockey, and watch a lot of hockey, so spend time with my family and my dog, and
So
just being in the community.
when you were a kid, was there someone in your family that you helped care for, and you thought, boy, healthcare industry is really going to be for me? Is that where you got it?
Kind of, I guess. I helped take care of my great-grandparents with my mom, but just kind of, like I said, kind of got not stuck, but led that way, seeing people just, needing it.
Is there anything in school that inspired you?
Maybe health class a little bit. I was really at the time, into forensics, but
Yeah. Forensics is what, for people that don't know it?
different studies of the death and stuff like that, seeing how they die, unfortunately.
Wow. Well, we're all kind of born to die, so I guess we all get there.
Yeah.
And what did your parents do did any of that help you? Any of their jobs?
My mom was a dental assistant, and like I said, took care of my grandparents. And my dad was a delivery driver for companies, and always had compassion in their hearts for helping people. So I guess that's why I like doing what I do, is helping people.
Did they encourage you to volunteer?
A little bit. I just, like I said, worked at a nursing home at a young age too, and
So did you play sports too?
no, I just watched a lot of them.
Well, good for you. I have never seen anybody with probably as much compassion as you have.
Oh, thank you.
And it just takes a special person to do it. What do you think is your balance that makes you be so, should we say, even-tempered with people?
I don't know. I know how to, I guess, leave work at work. And, but then you take some of your personal life and life skills, being able to help people, and to be able to, I don't know, advocate and just be with people. You pick up.
Do you ever think it's time for a career change, or you'd like a career change, or you're totally happy with what you are? You seem totally happy with where you are.
I have tried a few career changes in my life, but something always has me keep coming back to this, so this must be my true calling.
Which ones were they?
I've gone from, like I said, more healthcare stuff to activities, and then I found out this job, I can kind of intertwine them, and I've been a job coach. I've just been a little of everything.
Great. So you were a job coach where?
MRCI in a place called Wingspan.
Is that for the disabled?
Yes,
And that was down in Rochester.
correct.
Yeah, I've heard of that down there. It's a good program. So you have had a little bit of educational
Yeah, I
school
guess.
type things. Good for you. So thinking ahead, what do you think the next 5 or 10 years is going to be for you still? Healthcare?
Yes, most definitely. Like I said, it's my true calling. It might not be healthcare. It might just be companion care. It might be, who knows, just something with keeping people more independent in their homes. That's what
Right.
I strategize towards and my goals.
Yeah, you worked at the Mayo Clinic in Rochester.
Well, Charterhouse, yes.
And one time, yeah. What'd you do over there?
I basically was more, that's when I was a nurse assistant. So I worked at the Charterhouse, which is part of the rehab facility. And I help people get to go back home.
Yeah. So how interesting was that, and what did it take? You had to be a pretty strong person to do that.
It took a lot because you're doing more physical, and it's physically and mentally challenging and draining, so that makes it hard.
And it's the emotion.
Very emotional.
And you're watching the families go through it too.
Yeah,
So what's the one thing you remember from that?
just being able to help certain people, and like I said, being able to bring them home. How can I say? Yeah, I guess just being able to see, them being like a guy who learning to walk again because he had to go have a knee surgery, or and how stressful it was for the family, and watching him trying to monitor his daily activities again.
And you did it for a while, but then he picked it up.
Yeah.
Great. That's the goal, I guess.
Yeah.
So, do you ever get a day though where you say, I don't want to or I can't do it today?
Yes, during a couple of years ago, during the pandemic, I was that way. I was like, I want to give up and hide under a rock some days because they worked you a lot. But like I said, then I started doing activities and seeing what people did enjoy.
Right. So what was the difference between now, where we've got a new virus coming on the scene, not so much here in Minnesota, but between now where we're able to run free and clear as opposed to when we had COVID? What is the difference in the working conditions or day-to-day, what you do every day? What was different about that?
It's not like around the clock care. You're not there 24/7 scrubbing in and out and worrying about your loved ones, and but you're still there to be able to be the loved ones' friends, and so because they couldn't have outside people coming in.
That's right. So things don't get spread.
Yeah, you just really had to make sure you scrubbed in so people wouldn't get sick, and yeah.
Was there ever a time when you went on an activity and they said, we want your group to come back another day, or we're not really into this kind of group? Did you ever feel segregated, I guess would be the word?
Yes. I've gone to a few different activities where an individual I took out to the community and he got treated bad because of his disability. They didn't treat him like they should have, and he ended up crying and leaving. And I wrote the manager of the company and said we would not be back because of how your staff treated
absolutely.
that individual.
Absolutely. But there's a vivid memory about what you had. We had one yesterday. We attended the community event, spring community event for Metro Mobility here in the Twin Cities. So we went to the event, and then I went to a meeting for Osmond Shrine last night. We're supposed to have an 8:15 ride on USERV, which is the newer cab company they use here for the disabled in town, Twin Cities. And my ride doesn't show up. So I called and I said, hey, still got an 8:15 ride? Yeah, but your driver didn't show up. So they're talking on the emergency line. Pretty soon it's 8:45, there's nothing happening. And I gotta get going because I gotta get up in the morning. And I called and they said, well, we can't get a hold of anybody in the disability vans, so I have to send another car for you. Well, how long that'll be? Well, it'll be here at 9:25. So we, again, let me remind you, we're at the community event yesterday where everything is the I's are dotted, the T's are crossed. And then we get into this mess last night, and it was just kind of bizarre. I'll say a polite word on TV. It was kind of bizarre. And but I'm sitting there thinking, gee, I just went to the community meeting, now I got a mess. So it was really a little after 10 o'clock by the time I reached my destination last night. So if I look a little tired on camera, I want to apologize, but we had Jennifer go with me to the meeting so she could see that firsthand. And we've done some other things in the community, so we get out with community activities too. And without Jennifer, I wouldn't look like this every day. So I appreciate what she does. And I think I'll take a break and I'll come right back right after this. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Disability Viewpoints. Jennifer Blomberg is my special guest today. And you've caught the ear and eyes of everybody here in the studio. They want to hear more about events. And that, I think we'll take this angle. There are different people with different mindsets, different physical limitation, and different age group, different demographics. And you have to plan transportation. What does it really take? You know, you just don't pull up to a building and think, I want to go here, open up the door and we're inside. What kind of preparation does that take? Because I know it caught the ear and eye of everybody in here, is events.
So I talked to a lot of families and the individuals, and kind of before we start services, kind of do a care plan and a comfort plan, kind of what they're comfortable doing and what they're able to do, and base activities around that. We don't want to take somebody who, like, unfortunately, would be like low impact vision and take them to a live movie or something. You got to figure out kind of what they would like.
Right, right. So the planning is kind of like in education. When you're disabled, you plan an individual education plan,
Yep.
an IEP. So you do that. What kind of preparation does that take, and how long does that take?
So usually when I first meet the people, I bring a notebook and just start brainstorming ideas, and they tell me stuff they like. And then we make a list from there. And if I find out somebody likes to go to concerts, I find out, okay, do they like rock music? Do they like country music? So we can plan different activities that are based around that. You don't want to take somebody to a soccer game and they hate soccer, but they love hockey. So that'd be
well, you
kind of
got the right person for that. Yeah, great. Have you ever had a time where you just gotta call the family, get them together, and say, there's nothing more I can do for you, or this isn't working for me? And it's tough to do, but it does happen, and it can be anything, mental, personalities, anything like that.
Yeah.
And have you ever had that happen?
Yeah, I've had an individual that I loved. We've had them for years, and then they end up, unfortunately, getting dementia, and I physically couldn't be there no more because they were mentally, emotionally, like you said, were not used to me anymore. We were just butting heads, and it was time to go our separate ways.
Well, dementia, are you trained in the area?
Some, yes. I've worked in a memory care.
Yeah. We've, in my past life, we've had some experience with that, and it is really a tough thing because you're watching the person's motor skills slow down, and then they're kind of letting go.
Yeah.
And that's part of life, and I hope I don't get that, but you never know. That's why I keep trying to do things. But yeah, it does happen, and that's a real emotional drain. But you've obviously, what made you grow? What's the most outstanding thing? How do you think you've grown over this 20 plus years?
Just being able to help people and seeing my kids grow and my grandparents and, like I said, family. My dad, watching him go through health things and being able to be there for my dad. So,
because your dad was there for you.
Yeah.
And that's
what comes around goes around.
That's the way I've looked at it too. Is your parents take care of you when you're young and see through your things, and when they get old, it's, it isn't. You don't have to be doing it. It isn't up to you, but we choose to do it. I know I didn't do everything, but I did some, and my parents aren't among us anymore. But I had great parents who taught you to talk to the janitor. But if you wanted to go talk to the vice president of a company, you could do that too. So it's all out there for you. But I had great parents, so I felt the need to help out where I could. And I couldn't do everything, by no means, but I was glad that I was able to do what I got to do. And with that, we're going to do the final word segment next. So we'll be right back with more Disability Viewpoints. Stay tuned. I'm Mark Hughes. Welcome back to Disability Viewpoints. With me again is Jen Blomberg, and she's a whole bunch of titles, a PCA, a whole bunch of different titles. But now it's our final word segment. So I want to bring that up to you. Our final word segment is this. Anything we might have missed, anything you want to say. It's a family show, but anything you want to say. And we got about a little over 2 minutes, two and a half minutes.
it's just try to keep people independent in their homes, get them in the community, just be there for them. And if you need help, don't be afraid to reach out for help.
Mm-hmm. And if they're looking for people like you to hire, how do we do that?
Like I said, word of mouth, or I do have an email address. You could email me. Or
Let's take your email.
my email is Blomberg, BLOMBERG .Jennifer, JENNIFER 14 @gmail.com.
So there you go. If you're looking to get a hold of her, she's a really professional, great individual. I would suggest it. So that's going to do it for us. Coming up on our next show, we're going to talk about the legislative wrap-up, which is our legislature for the 25-26 season just wrapped up. So we're going to do a legislative wrap-up this next time. Then after that, we're going to have Dan Stoltz from Blaze Credit Union talk about affordable housing, and that'll really be an action-packed half hour. So hold on tight when we have him in there, because anything can happen. He's a great guy, good friend of mine, and he'll be a good guest. So we hope you keep watching Disability Viewpoints. I want to thank Jennifer Blomberg for making a special effort to be on here today.
Thank you.
We've covered a lot of information in a half hour. The interview was great, so don't you worry. Now you're a TV star.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here, Jennifer.
Thank you.
And more importantly, thank you at home for watching. For the entire crew at SPNN, I'm Mark Hughes, and we'll see you next time on Disability Viewpoints.